The air was rich, with the scent of damp earth and moss as Lukas stepped through the tangled roots and thick underbrush of the deep forest. For days, he had followed cryptic clues etched into an ancient map handed to him by a stranger in the marketplace, a wrinkled man who spoke of magical treasure guarded by forgotten riddles and vicious guardians. Lukas wasn't alone. Beside him was Irena, an expert in ancient languages and traps, whose cool determination kept him steady. Behind them trailed Korrin, a brawny mercenary wielding 2 axes whose insistence that every treasure hunt needs muscle had earned him a spot on the team. The treasure was said to lie at the heart of the forest, buried beneath a temple long forsaken by its creators. But reaching it wasn't a matter of simply walking. The map itself shifted its lines as they progressed, turning paths into labyrinths. And the forest was alive, not just with animals, but with something older, something aware of their intrusion. The forest was alive, not just with animals, but with something older, something aware of their intrusion. As they approached a grove, thousands of spear-like shards stuck out of the ground as if grown from the soil itself. Each hummed faintly, vibrating in some unfelt wind. "What's this now?" Korrin grunted. Irena knelt, studying them closely. "They're resonant markers," she murmured. "If we step incorrectly, they might trigger something worse. A curse or an explosion, perhaps." Korrin rolled his eyes. "Curses, traps, it's all the same. Just step carefully, right?" Irena didn't answer him, her fingers running across the base of one of the crystalline shards. Lukas nodded toward the map. "Let's see if it tells us anything." Unfolding the parchment delicately, Lukas watched as the ink squirmed and rearranged itself. The symbols closest to their location aligned to form a series of numbers. No, coordinates. Irena sighed in relief, her sharp eyes darting to the numbered markers spread around the grove. "We need to walk through in sequence. Step wrong and we'll regret it." One by one, they moved carefully, following Irena's instructions. The tension was palpable, their breaths shallow as their boots fell softly on the forest floor. At the center of the grove, a pedestal rose from the earth, its obsidian surface gleaming. Upon it was a golden sphere, etched with symbols. "A puzzle," Lukas said. "Naturally." Irena raised an eyebrow. "You didn't expect this to be easy, did you?" As Lukas cradled the sphere, the engravings began to glow, rearranging to form a challenge. Solve it, or the grove would consume them. This much was clear. The symbols pulsed with heat between his hands, shifting into 2 riddles. "What rises without wings? What falls without a sound?" Lukas read aloud. He glanced at Irena, who tapped her chin in thought. "It's the sun," Irena decided. "It rises over the horizon and falls, or sets silently." Lukas whispered the answer aloud, and the golden sphere grew cold in his hands. A soft chime echoed through the grove. "Not bad," Korrin said, his voice quieter than usual. "Let's hope the rest of this trip is that smooth." The further they ventured, the darker the forest grew. Trees gnawed at the sky with gnarled limbs. Roots twisted into shapes that seemed like faces frozen in silent screams. In the growing gloom, Lukas felt uneasy. This forest, it didn't want them here. Hours later, they came upon another ruin, a jagged stone gateway inscribed with faded glyphs. The moment they crossed the archway, an ear-splitting shriek tore through the quiet. From the darkness beyond, figures emerged. Skeletal beasts wrapped in sinew and bark, their glowing eyes fixed on the intruders. "Get ready!" Korrin barked, releasing a low growl as he raised his axes. He charged forward, chopping down the first creature with a heavy, sweeping blow. The skeletal beasts moaned, shards of bark spraying across the forest floor. But more came, dozens converging at once, moving with unnatural speed. Lukas drew his sword, every muscle tensed. "Irena, stay back!" he shouted, swinging at a beast as it lunged for him. Its claws scraped sparks off the blade, and Lukas felt the impact vibrate down to his bones. Irena had no intention of stepping back. She flung a vial of glowing powder onto the ground. It burst into waves of golden light that froze the advancing beasts momentarily. "Move. We don't have time for this fight. We need to get through the barrier!" Korrin growled under his breath, but nodded. Together, the trio pushed forward, fighting their way past the barrier until, at last, they reached the ruins beyond. The skeletal beasts didn't follow, simply fading into shadow as the trio collapsed in exhaustion amidst the stones. "They're just trying to slow us down," Lukas muttered, panting. "Then we'll push faster," Irena replied sharply. The ancient ruins climbed toward the sky, a massive tower looming in the distance. "That's where the treasure is! It has to be!" Lukas said, his breath catching as he stared at the imposing structure. Their path to the tower was littered with puzzles. Stone plates arranged in sequences that corresponded to constellations. Pools of water that morphed into mirrors, requiring sharp observation to uncover hidden reflections. At one challenge, Lukas had to carve runes into wooden tablets while Irena translated instructions under timed conditions. Even Korrin, not known for his intellect, managed to contribute by bashing open locks the puzzles rendered inaccessible. Yet the physical trials weren't the worst. The mental strain of solving riddles and traps as the forest pressed against them was grueling. Its sounds, whispers in the wind, laughter from nowhere, grew louder the closer they got to their goal. Lukas began to notice movement in the corner of his vision, shapes that weren't there when he turned to look, and sometimes he thought he heard his sister's voice, though she had died years ago. "That tower's cursed," Korrin grumbled as they finally reached its base, breathing heavily. He kicked a loose stone that clattered across the ground. "I can feel it in my bones." "Then we're on the right track," Irena replied. The tower doors were sealed by an intricate mechanism, a puzzle crafted of interlocking rings that had to align perfectly. Deciphering it took an hour of trial, error, and collaboration, but once the rings clicked into place, the ancient stone doors groaned open. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of decay. The flickering of their torches revealed a spiraling staircase carved from obsidian, winding deep downward instead of up. "The hearth lies below," Lukas murmured, recalling the inscription etched on the map. They descended carefully, each step echoing through the silence. A golden glow awaited them in the depths, bright and unnatural. Finally, they stepped into a cavernous chamber where treasure glimmered in heaps beyond imagination. Gold coins piled like mountains. Gems like sundrops spilled across the dark floor. Relics of unknown civilizations gleamed with mystery. At the center of it was a pedestal, holding a single chest. Its lid had been carved with the same runes that had guided their journey. "It's here," Lukas said breathlessly. "We found it." But as his fingers brushed the chest, the glow of the cavern dimmed. From the walls, dark shapes peeled themselves free, shadows given monstrous form. The battle was relentless. Korrin charged headfirst into the fray, his axes dancing in chaos. Lukas fought with precision, his sword moving like an extension of his own body. Irena stayed nimble, striking calculated blows at the monster's weak points and tossing vials that erupted into bursts of fire and ice. It wasn't just strength that saved them. It was teamwork, trust forged in battle, and puzzle-solving alike. When the last shadow fell, the cavern grew silent again, leaving only the glimmer of treasure. Lukas knelt before the chest, his heart pounding. It seemed to hum faintly, alive in some way. Carefully he opened it. Inside was an orb, blindingly bright, pulsating with warmth. Engraved across its surface was a single word. "Awaken," Irena read aloud. The ground quaked beneath them, and the treasure vanished, but not into nothingness. It transformed into a stream of golden light that flowed from the pedestal to Lukas, sweeping through his body like a tide. For a moment he saw visions, cities lost to time, civilizations knowing both ruin and triumph. When the light faded, Lukas staggered to his feet, feeling different. "What just happened?" Korrin asked, his weapons still raised. "I think it wasn't treasure, not in the way we thought," Lukas said quietly. He clenched his fists, feeling a strange energy coursing through him. It was knowledge, power,